Pearl's fur gleamed like freshly fallen snow, her tiny paws patting at the soft fabric Anna was sewing. Anna hummed softly, glancing down with a smile as her daughter tried to mimic her work. Leo sat at his workbench in his workshop, sanding the edge of a chair. The little family of 3 lived a simple but joyful life in a cozy cottage on the edge of the bustling city of Miarich. Their home was surrounded by forest that was alive with the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves. Life was peaceful and filled with laughter, and every day seemed like a gift. Leo worked as a carpenter, crafting furniture that was sought after across the city. His days were spent shaping wood with care, his creations as strong and warm as the heart he poured into them. Anna, a seamstress with nimble paws, worked part-time, designing clothes and stitching beauty into every garment. She spent most of her days at home, tending to Pearl, who was their greatest joy. Weekends were sacred. Saturdays were for trips to the city park, where Pearl loved to climb the jungle gym and swing so high she could see the tops of the trees. Sundays, they ventured into the forest, packing a basket of tuna sandwiches and catnip cookies for a picnic under a tall oak tree. Pearl's laughter echoed through the woods as she chased butterflies, while Leo and Anna watched with smiles that spoke of pure happiness. For a time, their lives seemed untouched by anything dark or cruel. But fate is rarely so kind. One afternoon, Leo was walking home from his workshop when he heard a faint, desperate cry coming from a narrow alley. His ears twitched, his sharp green eyes narrowing as he turned toward the sound. There, he saw a group of rogues, rough-looking cats led by a notorious figure known as Rogue, a powerful media boss who thrived on fear and manipulation. They were tormenting a small, scruffy kitten, cornering it against a wall. The kitten's cries pierced the air, but no one dared intervene. "Leave the kitten alone," Leo said, his voice steady but firm as he stepped forward. The rogues turned, their sneers turning into wary glares when they saw the tall, broad-shouldered cat standing between them and their victim. Rogue smirked. "And who are you to tell me what to do?" Leo didn't back down. "I'm someone who won't stand by and let you hurt the innocent." Before things could escalate further, patrolling officers appeared, alerted by the commotion. The rogues were arrested and the kitten was taken to safety. When Rogue was released, he planned to take revenge from Leo as no one ever dares him. He and his followers began stalking Leo, learning his routines and watching his family. They followed him from his workshop to his home, their presence a shadow he never noticed. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, their home was filled with laughter. They began to talk about their plans for the weekend. The sound of the door crashing open shattered the peace. Rogue and his gang stormed in, their faces twisted with malice. "Leo," Rogue snarled, his voice dripping with venom. "You thought you could humiliate me and walk away?" Leo pushed Anna and Pearl behind him, his body a shield between them and the intruders. "Leave my family out of this," he said, his voice calm but filled with a quiet strength. But Rogue was beyond reason. Armed with clubs and knives, his gang closed in. Leo fought back with everything he had, his claws slashing and his body a barrier against the attackers. Anna tried to call for help but was overpowered as she shielded Pearl. From under the dining table, Pearl clutched her stuffed mouse, her tiny body trembling as she watched her parents fight to protect her. Their bravery shone in their every movement, but they were outnumbered. One of them noticed Pearl hiding under the table. As they came closer, Pearl quickly ran out of the house toward the forest. She was scared, sad, and confused. The rogues chased her, but she hid, and they couldn't find her. After searching the forest, they gave up and left. Pearl sat in the forest, crying, until she fell asleep. The next morning, Elder Moss, a retired investigator, found her. He had been watching the house that night, thinking Rogue might cause trouble. When he arrived, it was too late to save Leo and Anna, but he saw Pearl running into the forest and followed her. "You're safe now, little one," Moss whispered as he wrapped her in his warm scarf. Under Moss's care, Pearl began to heal. He taught her how to survive and grow strong, sharing the skills he had honed over decades as an investigator. Pearl listened intently, her grief transforming into determination. As she grew older, she decided she wanted to fight back, not with claws and vengeance, but with justice. She enrolled in the Mirage Academy of Justice, where she excelled in her studies. Her sharp mind and unwavering resolve set her apart, and she graduated with honors, becoming a detective in the city's police force. For years, Pearl worked tirelessly to bring criminals to justice, but she never forgot her ultimate goal: dismantling Rogue's gang. She worked undercover, gathering evidence and piecing together the network Rogue had rebuilt. Her dedication paid off when she finally led a raid on Rogue's hideout. Pearl stood face to face with Rogue, the cat who had destroyed her family. Her icy blue eyes were calm and resolute, filled with a strength that had grown from years of grief and determination. The room was tense, the air thick with unspoken rage as the detectives surrounded Rogue and his gang. "You should have stayed under the table," little kitten Rogue sneered, his piercing yellow eyes gleaming with malice. Pearl didn't flinch. She met his gaze with unshakable courage, her voice firm and steady. "You didn't leave me weak," she said. "You made me determined." The room erupted into chaos as the confrontation began. The detectives moved swiftly, engaging the rogues in a fierce battle. The clash of shouts, scuffling feet, and gunfire filled the air. Pearl held her ground, fighting alongside her team with every ounce of strength she had. But in the frenzy, one of Rogue's gang members managed to draw a hidden weapon. A single shot rang out, and Pearl staggered back, her eyes wide with shock. She collapsed to the ground as the chaos continued around her. When the dust settled, Rogue and his gang were subdued, handcuffed, and dragged away. The detectives had won, but at a devastating cost. Pearl lay still, lifeless, her determination frozen in her final moments. Rogue and his gang were sentenced to life in prison. Their reign of terror finally ended.